Join Mike, Brook, and A'marri as they dive into the upcoming Cleveland Heights mayoral race and why it matters for local homeowners, landlords, and investors. They talk about crumbling infrastructure, out-of-touch city projects, and how candidate Laura Hong could bring the real change the city needs, especially in neglected neighborhoods. All this and more on the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Riley for the Cleveland Real Estate Investor and also our smaller podcast, Small Business Confidential. And we're talking about some upcoming important news for Cleveland Heights, where I live, where we own property, where A'marri lives, where Brook lives. And this is the upcoming mayoral election in Cleveland Heights and what the implications of that is for property investors, property owners, Cleveland Heights residents, et cetera, et cetera. We are backing a woman. Her name is Laura Hong. She has been a top lawyer, partner, major law firm in Cleveland for 40 years. I know her first husband he was our lawyer for workers' comp stuff. She's since married a really nice guy. They've been married 40 years, 35 years. I play golf with him. St. Ignatius grad, about 6 years behind me. But she is a real go-getter, and she's not part of the nonprofit elite, semi-elite group that's really been kind of running Cleveland Heights for the last 20, 30 years. Cleveland Heights is really, it's been a roller coaster. It's been kind of like the Cleveland Browns. We thought we had a really good mayor coming in about 3.5 years ago, like the Browns thought Deshaun Watson was going to work out. Guy turns out to be beyond incompetent. He's about to be recalled in his last couple months in office. So we've got Laura Hong, and then we've got 4 other candidates running, all nice people, all very well qualified, but all cut from basically the same cloth. So how do we get somebody who is the embodiment of what Cleveland Heights needs, which is change? So how do we get this person elected to turn around Cleveland Heights and make it really an opportunity for investors out there to jump back in and get a city on the rise? So let me turn over to A'marri. You go first. You grew up in Cleveland Heights. You've been connected to this company for 8 years. So your thoughts on this election and what we want to do to get Laura in the mayor's seat?
Well, I think this is an opportunity, like we've had opportunities in the past, for what we keep talking about, which is the real change that we want to see in Cleveland Heights. You know, a lot of the conversations, that I'm having with people, my age, outside of, here is just how much potential, we see for Cleveland Heights and, some of the good things we see and some of the other cities. And I think with Laura, there's this little beam of hope, just that we want to make sure is actualized and realized. And, just from being supporters and actually starting to see some of that change that we've been talking about, whether it's the vacant homes, whether it's the retail, whether it's the poor state of a lot of these different areas where, some parts of Cleveland Heights you go to, and even if it's not on the border of East Cleveland, it feels like East Cleveland. It feels dilapidated and deteriorated, and, like the community just doesn't really care about it. And I think it just has this snowball effect, this positive feedback loop of apathy, in the residents, where you just kind of end up turning a blind eye to it. And I've had to check myself even on that kind of a mentality where it's just like, well, that's just what that is. That's just what that area is. And you don't even really think about it. So I think what we talked about before with some of the strategic pop-up signage, in front of Severance or in front of a vacant house is kind of a wake-up call for residents who've gone through that same kind of apathy where it's just you accept it, you're bogged down with your day-to-day life, work, kids, whatever it is, and you just kind of, well, that house has been there, whatever. It's just, you gotta attack the apathy.
You get numb to it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Brooke? growing up here, now taxpayer, resident.
Yeah, I mean, I just want someone who's, not gonna do the endless studies and focus groups, and I want someone who's gonna come in and take action. And that's what this city needs. So whether it's I think a real good example of this city's incompetence is, if anyone in Cleveland Heights is listening, if you're driving up Compton, they put those stupid roundabouts, spent money hiring contractors to build these roundabouts. And there's potholes on all the side streets. There's potholes going up and down Compton. If I was mayor, I would have put stop signs at each intersection. I don't know how much a stop sign is, probably a couple $100 versus.
Well, they've had stop signs there, and it's kind of random.
Well, no, I'm saying you put stop signs on both, right? So
You're right.
you have 4 stop signs. Going up Compton, there's usually just 1 stop sign, or there's 2, right? So if you're going perpendicular, spend a couple $100, put stop signs in at every intersection so that you're stopping. You're spending $200 a stop sign. I don't know how much they spend on roundabouts. $20,000 per roundabout. And meanwhile, you're still dodging these potholes.
That's a roundabout.
So it's
How about making more potholes? That would really slow down traffic.
I would have loved to be in the focus group or the decision planning where there's probably someone who's saying, hey, how about we just put some stop signs in, save the taxpayers thousands, save the city, and, let's fix these roads. No, let's put in roundabouts and put in a garden in each roundabout. It's what, there's just no plan.
Yeah.
Well, I think at the root of this, there is a lack of accountability. We talked about this before. And look, if you have any kind of viable business, you have to meet payroll, which means you have to generate income, which means you have to generate customers. You have to have a product that is driving customers to you. If it's not working, you got to make some changes because you're getting the feedback from the marketplace. Marketplace is either supporting your business or it isn't. In Cleveland Heights, nobody is listening to the residents. Mm. They're listening. Yeah, they're having listening tours, but nothing happens with it. It is beyond ridiculous. It's almost becoming a caricature of endless listening tours and surveys, and then they don't do anything about it. And you've heard me talk about, in past podcasts, we talk about Cleveland Heights and, and the vacant houses that just sit there next to neighbors that then get a point of sale notification literally Laura Hong said last night at one of her town hall neighborhood meetings, she said, I just got a notice that I got to trim back my rhododendrons because they're touching the house. You've got to be kidding me. On the next street over, there's a vacant house. Yet they're doing these systematic street-wide violations. And when you talk to some people, like in city council, they talk about how important it is, but it's not connected to reality. People don't want that. Residents didn't want the roundabouts. All they wanted is, the up and down traffic, like the Indy 500 that was happening on the streets. Now, you can test drive it, but then why don't you ask the residents, is this working? Why don't really involve them in the decision-making process? And I think that's where Laura Hong is really, cross our fingers, a breath of fresh air. I mean, this lady is tough as nails. She's a litigator, been a partner at a law firm, which she was the first Chinese Asian American partner, major law firm, Squire Sanders, where my classmate Fred Nance, who brought the Browns back in 95. This is heavy hitter law firm in Cleveland, and she was a partner, which says a lot about her. She's smart. She's tough. She's exactly what the city needs. City needs an outsider who's professional, who's tough, who's going to come in and break up the way things have been done, which starts with asking the fundamental question, is this working? Should we spend money on this? And Cleveland Heights for the last 20 years has been just giving away money to developers who promise to bring in jobs like Medusa Building, Severance Center. They're basically getting jammed by this out-of-state landlord. They're just paralyzed. They're just used to doing the same thing over and over again. So here we are. We got Laura Hong. Now the question is, how do we get her elected? Okay. And we talked about that. You're part of that snippets of the podcast, which is if she's different, if she really is different, she's got to run a different campaign.
Mm-hmm.
She's got to be like that guy in New York City who went to the bodegas, who went to the neighborhoods, South Asian neighborhoods. 600,000 people of South Asian descent live in New York City. I mean, think about it. And they're the new Italians, the new Irish, the new whatever ethnics, mainly Italian and Irish, that came into New York City. The South Asian population from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and he's harnessed that. And he's blowing away the establishment. And this is what Laura Hong has to do in Cleveland Heights. She has to tap in to that craving for change. So if she runs a candidacy doing the same old, stick a sign that says Hong on out there, trust, leadership, effectiveness, whatever, it's just going to look the same. Your thoughts, A'marri?
Who do you think that
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand or should understand the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
target audience is, like you're talking about the guy in New York, how he was able to identify and target those people who were more so marginalized and, their voices weren't as, prioritized.
Well,
Who is that?
Well,
It's nice.
they are people like you and Brook. They're sick of the direction of Cleveland Heights. And they're sick of the platitudes they got to listen to. In the Heights Observer, they got to read this, or the Cleveland Heights E-News, or whatever. It's just the same, or a magazine they get. It's not connected to reality. It's like rearranging, I've said this before, rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic as it's sinking. And so, now, Brook, you be a focus group because you weren't in on the earlier convos we had about the candidacy. If you had a candidate sign that says, end point of sale, focus on the bad houses, real change, Laura Real Change Hong, where the name is not as prominent as the message. Right now, you drive around, it's Smith, Jones. I mean, you're driving down the street and you're seeing this sign. They all look the same, right? They all look the same. So I'm telling Laura, don't mimic that, because then you are the same. Have the sign out. Fix severance now. Stop the study groups. Clean up these bad houses, these bad vacant houses. Don't talk about housing affordability. You're missing the point. It's the vacant houses. It's end point of sale. It's the vacant houses. It's go after these empty retail lots. Now, no more studying. Just have those cloud words up there. So you've got the city of Cleveland Heights peppered with these different signs that all talk about key issues, potholes, leaf pickup, cutting the grass in May, all these things that drive the residents crazy. Hit those themes in that sign. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know if I saw a sign like that, I'd slow down. Who is that candidate? And if you see a bunch of those signs around that have different messages that all connect to the same hot word theme, you're going to say, God, this is a change candidate. Everybody in Cleveland Heights wants change. How do you define change? I'm doing it this way instead of that way. I'm doing it this instead of that. I'm doing it this instead of that. Some electrifying changes. And that's what that guy in New York did. Mm-hmm. The buses are free. The billionaires are going to pay more. We're going to improve services. We're going to have, free kids' health thing. And guess who's going to pay for it? The billionaires. Yeah, fuck them, right? Guess who's running against this candidate? The billionaires. Okay? So if you have Laura Real Change Hong running for mayor, Laura Real Change Hong, Real Change, you connect her first name and her last name to her middle name, which is Change. Your thoughts, Brooke?
Sounds like you should be her campaign manager.
No, I'm probably driving her crazy by now, but no.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the typical signs are, the person's name for mayor. The only difference is they're in a different font or a different color. I think it's important to, put the name out there, but you're definitely going to attract more attention if the signs are speaking the truth.
Well, like I said earlier, you have the messaging out there. They're going to want to know who that person is. They'll slow down.
Well, it's like that guy who's on the news for those signs, and, like, I buy crack houses. Have you seen those signs? No. They're everywhere. And people are stopping and like, who the hell is this guy? And he's on the News Channel 5, and he's like, yeah, I wanted to get people's attention.
I'll make him pay. It's another guy.
Yeah.
I'll make him pay.
Right.
I'll make him pay. I mean, I was telling earlier, I was talking about the ID, the hot words, the emotional hot buttons. This city is sliding. Everybody knows it. It's reached rock bottom with this mayor. It's now become a joke. People want change more than any time I can remember in Cleveland Heights. They're fed up with the direction. Fed up. It is like dry kindling waiting to be lit. That fire is change. Laura has to ignite it. And she ignites it by coming at it, by lighting these matches. And that's what Trump did, 2016. I'll fix it. I'm a businessman. I give him money. I expect him to do what I tell him to do. Who ever talked like that as a candidate? That's why people voted for him. Meanwhile, you got Hillary position paper Clinton talking about all the studies and the smart things she's done and all the credentials. And here you have Trump running the anti-establishment candidacy. And that's what Laura has to do. And she went to a Trumper fundraiser last night in Cleveland Heights. These people all voted for Trump. Fox News is on the kitchen. And the person who hosted it is a good friend, Mo Lin, who cleaned up Forest Hill Swim Club about 5-6 years ago, really turned it around, a real go-getter. And all these people there, must have been 40, 50 people there outdoors. Laura nailed it. They were lining up. They were peppering her with questions, stuff like that. The word's getting out that Laura Hong is the different candidate. She's going to get the Trump vote in Cleveland Heights. Not much, okay? But she's going to get 99% of it, okay? She's going to get the vote in Noble Neighbors, Noble Road, which has been marginalized, Caledonia, which is on the border of East Cleveland. These people, you talk about neglected, that's a capital N there, how neglected. She's got to get those voters that are fed up with the Cleveland Heights establishment. What do you think, A'marri?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think as far as those voices that she can target and really hone in on, you don't hear as much of that kind of rhetoric when you think about or talk about Cleveland Heights. It's a lot of, painting the streets rainbow colors, sustainability. It's got all the kind of
Bike trails,
the nice, very liberal centric, idealistic, just it's nice. It's nice to talk about. It's nice to think about. It's very, and it is not to say that stuff is inherently wrong, but when you put that right next to all these vacant house issues, you put that right next to all the pothole issues, you put that next to, like what you're saying, like the Noble Road, the
retail,
the retail, the trashy areas. It's just like, what are we doing? Where are all of our resources and time really being allocated to? So, and that's, like we said, it's like we're having those conversations amongst each other or our friend groups, our talks, but in the broader sense of the Cleveland Heights narrative, that's not really what's talked about. So I think bringing that more to the forefront would be very powerful.
Brooke, can you imagine if what they did in Shaker, Van Aken, was at Severance? Mitchell Ice Cream, North Star, Brassica.
Shit, I would take what they have at like Steelyard.
Yeah. I mean, that's Severance has been like that for 10 years.
IKEA, Trader Joe's, Target.
Yeah. Yeah. No. You know what? And that's part of the establishment that has been studying this to death for 10 years. I mean, it is a total waste of time. And meanwhile, you got Coventry with 4 vape stores. Really? I mean, I'm just waiting for the dollar store. Look at Fairmont Cedar. We get a grocery outlet at the old Russo's. We don't get Trader Joe's.
That's the landlord.
Yeah, look at
the owner.
You put heat on the landlord. That thing sat vacant for 2 years. And that's where, when you talk about who's been developing Cleveland Heights, what do they got to show for it? They got no Van Aken, Yeah. And there's no accountability. There's no kind of, how did you guys come up with the roundabouts? How did that happen? Okay. I mean, we run a business. We got a job that goes south. There's questions that are asked.
Right.
I'm going to listen to how you studied it. And we did the survey. Obviously, you fucked up, right? I don't hear that. So, look at investors who don't live in Cleveland Heights. Look at you. If Laura Hong gets in as a mayor, it is time to invest in Cleveland Heights because change is coming. We just got to hope that Laura Hong runs that change candidacy, and we got to start pushing that message out. And we will keep everybody posted for the next 2 months. Now, Brooke, you got to do dad duty. You're out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, A'marri.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Riley. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.